Welcome to my April garden tour, and this time we are in my front yard. This is sort of my first official garden tour of 2025, and of course I'm excited to show you all the wonderful things that are growing in my garden and some surprises that I have. So let's get going. Hi you guys, this is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is located in growing zone 8B and we are in southeastern North Carolina. So we are starting in my peninsula garden. So my peninsula garden juts out from my fence line and basically is a peninsula. So this right here is the golden sword yucca, and the cool thing about the yucca, even though I say all the time it's a great feature plant because it's evergreen, so we have this gorgeous yellow color all the time. Hello, look at these flowers. I am not the most tremendous fan of the yucca flower, but the coloring right now is really striking. So adding a little pink into the variegation we have going on, I'm a fan of that. I'll show you what the flowers look like once they open up. So my crepe myrtle is leafing out right now. That's going to be a summer blooming. It could be a tree or a shrub depending on how you cut it. So I have light pink flowers on this guy. As we come more this way, I want to show you the things that are happening now for spring, and also just let you know that this is really, I want to say, a late spring slash summer flower bed. Like, we have pops and zooms of color in the summer. So right around in this area, we see things are waking up. I have mums right here. Mums for me are going to bloom both in the summer and in the fall. It blows my mind every time the mums bloom when it's warm out, but that's what's going to happen with those. We have black-eyed Susans that are leafing out here that are going to get much, much taller than what you see. This is a balloon flower. I only have one bud so far on my balloon flower, but they're going to have those cute little purple flowers on them. Now here's some of my favorite things. I'm stepping in here. Two things right here. First, this guy right here. This is an echinacea. Echinacea, type of coneflower, of course. This is one of my favorite plants. So when I start to see my echinacea coming up, I feel really, really happy. Now you guys, look at this white flower right here. This is my peony. I am so glad it's here and in bloom for my April garden tour. I've mentioned it before, so I'm not going to harp on it, but it's really difficult for me to grow peonies. I almost never get flowers. So even though I get the plant leafing out, the blooms do not always open up for me. So I'm thrilled to have this guy here and I get to show you. So of course, another golden sword yucca right here with the pink that's showing up in the flower. So it's pretty cool, very unusual looking plant. This cabbage right here, I have to say that I planted that in the fall and I have cut off heads of it in the past and used it in flower arrangements. We're going to show you that on the front porch, and a lot of you were actually really interested in how the cabbage was going to do. Was it going to reroot, etc. Now this is just simply the top head of the cabbage, and I cut the whole stalk off and put the head back in and it rerooted. But wait till you see some of the other cabbage I have. Oh my gosh, it's insane. So here, are you wondering what all this light pink is? All these light pink flowers in my whole garden bed? This is the twilight primrose. So the twilight primrose is an aggressive self-seeder. Don't plant it if you don't have the room for it, but it has these beautiful buttercup style flowers, as you can see, and they just start going crazy and fill up your flower beds. Now I do have another style primrose also. It's called evening as compared to the twilight, and it is going to bloom with yellow flowers. That's going to happen probably in another couple of weeks or so. Then I'll have a mix of the yellow and the pink in here together. So down below, I have some dianthus. Now, you know I'm a huge fan of dianthus. This one's probably my most scraggly looking one. Super Trooper Lilac on Purple. I have one here and I have another one toward the back. These look much more like your traditional carnations do. Carnations are a kind of dianthus. So this one, as I said, is a little scraggly looking still right now, but dianthus is still one of my favorite flowers. So I don't ever want you to think that my garden is perfect or that I do a perfect job with things. I don't. Here's a great example of something. Do you see this? Do you see this little problem I have here? So I have these pin cushions. they were here, I don't know, at least 2 years probably. And I said, oh, I'm going to buy another pincushion plant so I have more of a show of these flowers. I bought the plant probably in very, very early April, put it in the ground, and guess what happened? Our temperatures rose up to over 80 degrees for a number of days, and I just didn't keep up with watering it or making sure that it was fine, getting acclimated to that high temperature. And this is what happened. So this is my only loss so far of the year, but see, I am not perfect at all. This right here is a guara plant. Now guara I love, I've talked about it before. This is going to get tall and the pink flowers are almost going to be like butterflies circling over the top of this awesome colored foliage. The guara is now propagating itself for me. So this is another example of guara right here in the ground that I did not put there. So needless to say, I'm very happy to have more of this flower going on. We are stopping at the magnolia tree, which is really the anchor of the peninsula garden. And we're gonna go around the other side because there's so many more gorgeous things to show you. So we are on the back side of the peninsula garden now, and the magnolia tree is right here again as our anchor. So in the past, I had showed you that I had some struggling echinacea that was planted over here. And it's because this echinacea was competing, still is, with the roots of the magnolia tree, of course. So I knew I wanted to bring it forward and try to give it a little bit more space and freedom and fresh, clean soil to separate it a little bit from that. So hopefully these guys begin to show some more growth, and we're gonna just see what happens with it. My little river rock area, this is for drainage. So as my gutters empty out their water, the water then flows down to our drainage swale. I had originally done this as broken pieces of some edging that had like the scalloped edges. And I said, I'm not a fan of scalloped edges because it looks super dated, like from the 1970s or something, 80s, I don't know. And someone said, why didn't you turn them upside down? And I thought, that's brilliant. I hadn't thought of it. So I turned them upside down. Dusty Miller that I planted as an annual just grows spectacularly. So the size of it already in the amount of time that it's been out here, it at least doubled in size, and I have much more of that to show you as well. This is the thrift right here. I don't want to say that this is the most sturdy plant in the world, but I think it's called like ballerina red or something really adorable to go with these awesome like ball-shaped blooms. I love the style of the plant. We're just gonna see like kind of how tough it is, or if it kind of fades in and out with the amount of water or the amount of heat that it gets. So here is another example of dianthus that's different than the lilac on purple that we saw in the front there. So this is a scent first dianthus, so it has a very lovely fragrance. And you can see also carnation style flowers. So perennial, gorgeous, love the pink, and also like the bluish green foliage. And this is the Artemisia. You saw me cut back my Artemisia. It was looking real scraggly after the winter and stuff. So I just cut back some of the dead foliage to allow it to start to come back out again. This guy is like a ground cover style plant, and I am great with that because the more color that I can have floating along the ground means the less mulch I have to buy. So that is awesome. This is my zebra grass. I had to think about zebra grass, tiger grass, zebra. And I also showed you cutting that down. The old foliage, you cut down like a number of inches off the ground, and then it starts to leaf out beautifully, and all that brown dead foliage you don't see anymore. We're now in the flower bed with my Kilmarnock willow. This was a willow I planted, it was back in March because my parents gifted me this tree for an awesome birthday that I will have coming up this summer, and we wanted some kind of beautiful statement plant. The Kilmarnock willow was it. Now it has like those pussy willow style buds, I don't even want to call them blooms really, in the really early spring, and they are just kind of spread around the ground here as they trickled off of the branches. The willow and the drape of it, I love it. So every single thing that is planted in front of the willow tree was all done in March. So again, the Dusty Miller, all just like little tiny plugs, boom, 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 is filling out beautifully. The pink in front of the Dusty Miller is more dianthus, yet a different style than the other two we've seen so far. And then the yellow and the purple are violas. Violas or pansies? I always get them confused, even though I know one is smaller than the other one. Well, anyway, since March and now we're like getting close to the end of April, every single thing looks so great. So those are all the new items that I put in for spring. Let me show you something that I wasn't expecting though. Over here, I have this Dutch iris. You can see the purple blooms on it. Now, I had told you back when I was planting those things, I never get blooms from these. My mom gave them to me years ago, and the foliage kept spreading out, and I had more of it, and I tried to separate it and put it in other spots. It never bloomed. All of a sudden, this year, maybe it's like the lovely willow energy or something, made these guys come out. So that's really cool. One of the only things that stayed where it was this. This is the golden euonymus. It is obviously a gorgeous evergreen shrub that is just outstanding. All I had to do was do a little bit of trimming on some of the branches that were getting a little unruly and had also lost some foliage during the winter time. Did a little snip of that, and look how gorgeous it is right now. This barberry was in a different spot, and we just kind of rearranged every single thing, every other thing besides this in the garden. So now the barberry is starting to get its color, so it's beautiful because I wanted something taller to kind of cover the back line of the house. All of these are daylilies. So these are going to bloom with orange flowers. They'll bloom for a while. I see that I have all buds on them. It's funny because at the time I was rearranging the garden, I removed so many of these orange daylilies, and now I can see more are here than I thought I left behind. They just grow and grow and grow. So talk about a perennial that keeps on giving. Another thing that I had moved around were all of these bearded irises. I had just kind of some clumps that were over here. But I said, I'm not getting rid of a single thing, even though I don't get a tremendous number of blooms on these irises. But instead, I'm going to keep some here, and I'm going to move some out to the flower bed I call the Island of Misfit Toys. I have buds happening on these right now. Wait till you see what's happening in the Island of Misfit Toys. That's going to be at the end. This was my DIY garden easel that my dad and I built back in the fall. So I've been able to change out this arrangement, I think 3 times. I had a fall one, a winter one. Now this is my spring arrangement. My spring arrangement's looking decent. The snapdragons, really, because they're like nice and big and full, they take up a lot of great space. But they're like cooler weather lovers, just like these violas are cooler weather lovers. So as my temperature here continues to warm up, we've had very, very warm days, these things are going to have to go, especially because this area of my garden faces the afternoon sun. This gorgeous rock is probably the biggest one that we took from my in-laws' house upstate New York that was extremely difficult to get into the back of our truck. So we kind of shoved it off of our four-wheeler. It landed here. We said, yes, this is perfect. This is like kind of a center point of this garden here. What I wanted to point out though, right in front of it, this purple heart that's growing here was unintentional. I had a flower pot here last year where the purple heart was spilling out of it, but I've mentioned before what a great spreader and rooter this plant is. So it's simply rooted from outside of the flower pot and made its home here. It's just funny how you can take a pot of something away and then you're still left with a tree after. This front row here is yet another style of dianthus. This one is the one that was labeled annual. I've shown it to you in my rock garden before, bought it as little tiny plugs last year. Now I had attempted to use that dianthus as a front border plant, but it did not work out for me last year. And the reason was the plugs weren't like poofing up as quickly as I wanted, so they did not make enough impact as a border plant. So what I decided to do just a couple of weeks ago was dig up each one of those little tiny plugs and kind of put them a little bit more together. The idea being I wanted to poof out into more of a sea of dianthus, similar to the way, like I said, the rock garden looks. So that's the idea. And I have a lot of them, so I think that's gonna work for me. Right here is one of those mums. We're not gonna talk about mums a whole heck of a lot because this was a fall planting that gave me some color, but it's looking great. So, you know, I'm gonna have another little star in the fall. This one though, this one we are gonna talk about. I planted the two of these together last fall. I can safely say I have never had a cabbage do as well as this one did. It was for fall interest, and I just figured however long it lives with me, that is fabulous. This dude, oh my gosh, is he like the happiest cabbage you've ever seen? I have more flowers than I ever even knew were possible on a cabbage. Some of you who have experience with it are probably thinking, no, it happens to me all the time. But this one is my most awesome. That's not all there is in this garden. My awesome trailing hot pink verbena is one of the things I've pointed out before because it's been blooming kind of on and off as the winter goes. And if you can get part of it to be buried under the ground, under the dirt, it produces more roots that you can then divide up that section of the plant and move it to other areas. So I have done that as well. And then here right in front of me is another one of those echinaceas that I said are just my favorite. This is a double scoop bubblegum echinacea, and we'll talk about it more in the summer when it actually has its gorgeous flowers open. This pot right here is one of the shining stars in my garden in the summer, not now. This pot was overwintered inside the house, and so I have diplodenia that is like trailing down out of the front, and clearly I have snake plants in the back. Well, the snake plant in the back, I wanted to get it used to our temperatures here little by little, and I was able to do that. But you know what you can't do? Get the plant ready for severe wind, and that's what happened. Once this plant was out here in its place, the wind just does not let up, and we have been having severe wind for every day for like weeks, and the snake plant just can't take it. So it started going all over the place. I'm not sure if it's going to stay wonky or what it's going to do, but we'll see. So the plant that sits opposite the pot I was just showing you is the lantana. Now, even though the lantana doesn't look like a whole lot right now, again, let's revisit this summer. It's going to look entirely different. It'll be like 3 times the size and full of orange flowers. This and the pot are huge statement pieces for people that are walking up to the front porch. Right here I have a selection of canna lilies and dark colored foliage with a deep red bloom. So these guys are awesome. They will stand tall, and you'll see the red blooms popping up here. Since we're right at the front porch, let's go check out how those spring containers are doing. So I put these urn planters together. I want to say it was back in March. Now, here's the interesting thing. This one on this side that's sitting in a little more shade is not doing nearly as well as the other one, which I'll show you in a second. I took Creeping Jenny out of my yard. The Creeping Jenny looks absolutely outstanding. I took some Creeping Moss Phlox. It is alive and fine, but that is a very, very early bloomer, so it really likes the cold weather and starts like super quick. The idea here was to put some perennials inside the middle that I could then lift out and put into my landscape after. So this, because its blooms are essentially done, it's probably time to swap out these plants, put some of the perennials into the yard, and then add some more heat-loving plants inside here. So this is the Creeping Moss Phlox. Now this dianthus also came out of my yard, and it came out of the rock garden. So I said it's doing lovely back there. You see how deep red and deep pink these petals are? Just remember that as we look at the next container that's in a little bit more sun. And then this is one of the cabbages that I also dug out, like I said, from the front. Compare this to the one we're about to see. Both of these pots were done at exactly the same time. Do you see the difference in color with this guy versus the other dianthus? This one looks much more two-toned, if you will. The contrast is more striking in these flower petals where it gets a little bit more sun. So that was one interesting thing. But also take a look at this cabbage. This cabbage is doing amazingly in comparison. So we have flowers that are beginning to happen on it. It's growing tall. It just looks different. And the Grace Ward Lithidoro is what these blue flowers are. They are also perennials. The intention was to take them out of this pot and put them into the yard. The ones over there didn't do well at all. You didn't see any blue happening over in that pot. But this one, again, looks good, but it's about to be ready to be moved out into the yard. Here's just a little FYI. So this urn planter, this has the lemon coral sedum coming out of it, and that flowers this time of year. I like the lemon coral sedum because it's a beautiful draper out of a pot and it's a beautiful ground cover. I've never purchased lemon coral sedum. I got it as a little freebie in a plant one time, and it has just expanded and expanded and expanded so much. I have it in a lot of places now. I have some violas up here. I have a little autumn joy sedum up here, and I have some snapdragons. So all of those things were put into this pot intentionally, again, for like some cooler weather interest. So the violas and such are probably going to have to be moved out. But here's what I wanted to point out to you. This little pot of snake plants, this was also living inside of my house for the winter. Now, you may have seen my garden tub before in my master bathroom. I had so many plants growing in there and overwintering for the winter. Overwintering for the winter, yeah. This snake plant was one of them. So it's been sitting outside for as long as that flower arrangement has been, because I also wanted to have it acclimated to the weather in case I needed to add it into that pot. I think I am gonna have to add this into my big planter because, again, the snake plant that's been out there kind of more in that wind, just not doing so great. This little area, we are right in front of the Peninsula Garden, has only been here for 1 year. We had this baby redbud tree that was just in a different area of our yard that was not doing well at all. I think it was too waterlogged and it did not, the roots were just not happy. So we put it out here. Well, what I wanted to show you is this lemon coral sedum, all from different parts of my yard. Again, did not purchase one single bit of this, and it is spreading like wildfire. It looks awesome, and the yellow is so vibrant. And these back here are the pink muley grasses. I only got them last year, so not a ton of pink yet for that like kind of cool weather fall interest, but I expect these guys to be awesome. All right, so my island of misfit toys is basically just on the opposite side of the magnolia tree from the Peninsula Garden. I have been working at this garden for a couple of years now, and my idea for the garden is literally to just make it with plant propagations, divisions of my own perennials, garden sharing, or clearance plants. The whole idea for the garden is absolutely no plants that were purchased at full price. So everything, including crepe myrtles that you see here, they are volunteer crepe myrtles. Crepe myrtles actually propagate themselves quite beautifully. So this is one I had from inside my yard. These are tiger lilies. Tiger lilies, same deal. They just self-seed so easily. This big plant will drop seeds. They start going into the ground like this. Then I take these little ones, move them into a clump, and they become that. So I have tiger lilies in a few spots. Again, that is a summer blooming plant. All the things you see down here, like these are junipers. Some cool name like Ocean Pacific or Pacific Blue Juniper. The idea for these guys is to have them spread out like crazy because this is a very sloped piece of property and the rainwater just really messes with the land here. So we have an erosion issue that I've been trying to fix, and I'm hoping that the feet from the juniper plant really helped to hold the soil in place and the erosion will lessen over time. I have canna lilies up in here. These canna lilies, same deal. Amazing propagators. They just spread like crazy. So I keep digging them out from other areas of my yard, put them out here. This is a Joe Pie weed that looks like nothing right now, but it came from my in-laws' property. And wait until I show you that in a couple months. Everything here came from other areas. This is a crocosmia, came from my sister's garden last year. It's gonna have gorgeous fiery red flowers on it. More lemon coral sedum, as I said, great. These hostas are divisions from other hostas in my yard. Oh man, I should have divided more hostas this year because they have gotten so big. Now we are in a sunny location right now. And yes, hostas typically like shade. However, since they are kind of close to a water source, if you will, because my drainage ditch is here, supposedly they would be okay. More propagations and divisions. Let me show you what I got going on. I have wisteria here. Now I have tremendous wisteria bushes in my backyard by the rock garden. Can you see right here over the fence? More wisteria that I took from that rock garden space and put it here. So I put some on that side of the fence, some on this side of the fence. The idea is to have them both kind of meet up and join together. A new little trellis is going to go here for the wisteria to be able to climb. These drift roses, they were just moved from a different part of the yard. I had them in a place where no one could ever see them, so I just moved them out here. They're doing beautifully. More junipers that were clearance plants. In here, just blanket flowers, black-eyed Susans. Again, just things that grow very, very easily in my yard. I have some azalea bushes. Don't look that great because they are fall bloomers. Those are from my neighbor. This evergreen and these little grasses, all from a clearance sale. Let me show you something super cool. This right here is a bearded iris. I'm sure you can tell that. Remember that spot in the front by the willow tree, and I said I had to just move some irises around, but I didn't want to get rid of any, so I stuck some out here in this garden. I did not expect my favorite iris to be, oh, hello ladybug. I did not expect my favorite iris to be one that was moved out here, honestly. This one, I just call it a root beer float because it's kind of got brownish tinge to the flower petals at the top and then kind of creamy colored petals in between. Now my mom gave me this. She separated it from her own garden. Neither one of us know exactly what kind of iris it is, because if we did know, we would be buying a lot more of them. It is my favorite one. This one is going to open up and it looks like it maybe is a purple bloom. It's hard to tell what this one is going to be. So it's interesting that I got some gorgeous babies and I put them in the island of misfit toys instead of keeping them next to the willow. Who knew? So we are going to actually end here in my backyard just because I'm next to my blooming wisteria, which only blooms for a couple of weeks out of the year. So since it's still in bloom, I just wanted to be right next to it to show you. So basically in the front yard, some of the awesome blooms were the yucca coming up with its flowers. They have never had flowers in that front yard garden before. My peony, again, it's kind of like magical to have that peony be blooming. And then the bearded iris with my root beer colored flowers. Those are some of my favorite things happening in the front right now. Thanks for coming along on the journey and taking a tour of the things that are looking awesome. I look forward to sharing so much more with you, more trials and errors and more inspiration and gardening ideas. Thanks again, and until next time, you guys, happy planting.